In today's economy, more people than ever are looking to buy and sell businesses. But how do you do it? Welcome to the Deal Board, presented by Transworld Business Advisors. Straight talk about real deals and real people. Listen to stories, interviews, and expert advice to help your business sale, merger, or acquisition process. Now, here are your business exit experts, Andy and Jessica.
Welcome back to the Deal Board, everybody. Today, we've got a different topic. So we talk a lot about buying businesses. We talk a lot about selling businesses. We talk a lot about how to run a business, but we don't really talk about the day-to-day of what it takes to be a successful business broker and M&A advisor. So our topic today is broker to broker, tips, tales, and industry insights from some top business brokers across our network.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's a little bit of watching the making of the sausages, getting in there. You know, it is a different business, and it takes a unique person to be a business broker. And it's a little bit of you got to be well organized, and you got to be a little bit of a psychologist. And, you know, it has some sales in it, but I think it's more like project management. But we have some great interviews, and specifically we have Dustin Audet and Ryan Mortensen that have a nice chat about being a broker, right?
Yeah. And then also Ryan interviews after Dustin. He brings Julie Barlow from his office as well in, and they really just share insights about what led them to this career path, key takeaways from their career and their success. All three of these individuals have been very successful from early on till today, and tips and advice that they hope entrepreneurs or business sellers can learn from them as well.
Yeah, and we also have Taylor back. Taylor Bombadiere is back, and he's talking about business brokers and their role in listing and collecting and vetting buyers. And, you know, it's just a great kind of slice of what we do here at Transworld, and hearing it right from the people that are on the streets. So this is going to be great.
Yeah, I think it's good insights for anybody who's just interested in what our process is day to day, but also, you know, it's a different take. So if you've been listening to the show and you've thought about maybe you wanted to become a business broker or learn more about what Transworld does, this is a little bit of the behind the scenes action, right? Yeah,
maybe you'll call up a Transworld office or just hit us up on tworld.com and put something in our contact info and just give us a call and join our firm. I mean, we're always hiring good people. We continue to expand. The business brokerage industry is exploding still. There are tons that we've talked about the numbers, but this is kind of a good insight listening to what brokers do on a daily basis. And of course, we have a deal of the week and a listing of the week for you this week as well.
Great. Well, we hope you guys enjoy the show. Let us know your feedback at thedealboardpodcast.com.
Let's go.
Transworld Business Advisors is the world's largest business brokerage and mergers and acquisitions firm with over 1,000 brokers and nearly 250 offices worldwide. Transworld's team handles thousands of business sales every year. To be connected with a qualified business broker or learn more about the buying and selling process, visit tworld.com/thedealboard. or call 888-719-9098.
All right. Thank you, Dustin, for being a part of this new little podcast segment we're having called B2B, Broker to Broker. It's an opportunity for me to really get to know all the other brokers here in our firm and learn a little bit about being the broker industry. And I'm looking forward to having some great insights from you today. So thanks for taking the time out of your day to meet with us on the podcast.
Yeah, happy to. Anytime.
Well, let's get right into it. First thing I got to ask is, how long have you been a business broker?
I am going on 6 years, maybe closer to 7 at this point. Yeah.
Okay. Now, looking back from your beginning days of a broker to where you are 6, almost 7 years now completion, what's one piece of advice you would give yourself if you could go back on that first day and say, hey, this is what you need to know?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would be, a couple of things, like be a constant learner. You know, you're always going to be amazed the little pieces you're going to pick up here, but don't ever think you know it all. And then the biggest piece would be, I liken this industry to getting a train up to speed, right? And the easiest thing to do is to keep the train at speed. But when you let off, and that means like letting off of prospecting or networking, power partners, whatever, because you get busy with something else, that train comes back to station, and then it's really hard to get that thing back up to speed. So always be juggling as much as you can and keeping as many balls in the air, because ultimately it makes life easier with this career.
Well, okay, so juggling a bunch of balls in the air keeps you focused, on point, keep pushing ahead, focus. I get that. How do you manage the amount of work and stress and balance in family life when you have to constantly keep pushing? How do you keep sane?
Yeah, creating systems, right?
I'm sorry?
Creating systems and
Creating
processes,
systems.
right? And being truly diligent with your time. It's really, really easy to have some shiny object distract you and to dig into your email or whatever, but schedule your life on the calendar and live by it. So that means like, I guess, for example, I do 2 power partner lunches a week, and they're always on Wednesday and Friday. And I hold that space on my calendar and I don't schedule over it. Now, if I don't end up using it, then I'll backfill it with something else prospecting related, right? But I adhere to it. So just be really, honest with yourself, with your calendar and your time, and really diligent with it.
Excellent. Yes, I can see that being a key factor. Now that you've been in 7 years in this role, you've also found yourself, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but you made partner in the firm quicker than anyone else has so far. Is that correct, or very fast?
Yeah, I think maybe Al needed a lackey that was willing to move to Texas, and I was that lackey. But yeah, I came on, and the first maybe month, I was like, I'm gonna win Rookie Broker of the Year, and I'm going to become a partner. And Al was like, all right, whatever, we'll see it. And so I got the Rookie Broker Award, set some decent first, second, and third year goals. And then at that point, like, we had the opportunity to acquire Texas, and I jumped all over it.
Nice. Now that you've been doing it, what's the fun of it? What's the fun? What's the new stress?
Let's see. The fun is growing the team and truly like spreading the gospel, the hype, and getting everybody else excited, right? Because like this is truly a business where people can change their lives forever, right?
Mhm.
We have no ceiling, and like that's the beautiful thing with sales. But think of sales, with something else. If you're out there selling windows, like you have somewhat of a ceiling. You can only hit so many houses. You can only convert so many, and those sales are smaller. With this, you can have a commission that's 20 grand. You can have a commission that's $1 million, and you can do as many deals as you can muster a year. So your ceiling is non-existent. And showing everybody else that that's possible is the fun part, right? And so in my role now, I do training and recruiting as well as sales management for our Texas team, and I think that's a big chunk of the fun stuff, is just showing everybody that the dream is real and attainable. The new stress is dealing with all of you guys and corralling these. I've got a lot of little monkeys running around. So there's always something fun and challenging, or, something to sort out or problem to solve. So
Now, let me ask you this. I've talked to the other brokers, and a consistency is about the enjoyment of the culture that we are involved with Transworld. Okay, everyone seems to like the culture, even in our meetings. My question is, from a partner perspective, having a team managing us, how does the culture help you as a partner, and how has it helped you before a partner as a broker?
Man, we get the same level of culture that you guys get. And I think the biggest piece of that is that everyone on this team is like completely selfless. Like they will pick up the phone and answer, like if you call and they will answer your questions. It's never a me versus you. It's always a us against the world mentality. And while every broker on this team is, an alpha in some sort and wants to win, they'll never do it by stepping on one of their colleagues' backs, which is a beautiful thing. And that comes from the top down. Our, leadership team is the exact same way, and we've got each other's backs all the time. And I mean, I think you've seen it since you've been here. It's like, It's truly a team of a bunch of individual hunters, but we come back to camp and we talk and we learn from each other, and then we go out and hunt solo. I think it's pretty damn cool, to be honest with you. And I think that that's allowed our success to come a lot faster here in Texas because we could mirror what we had already done in Colorado.
Yes, the system seems to be working great. Everywhere you put it, it just continues to grow and continue. The business has been around, the firm, I should say, 40 years. Is that correct?
Transworld as a whole has been around 40 years. I think Andy Cagnetta bought it bought in, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, 20. Don't quote me on that. We've owned our chunk for 11, almost 12. And then Texas, we've been here since 2020. So we're 4 years into this market, but really only 2 at what you know now.
Yeah. So now, since you've been a recruiter, let me ask you, what quality do you look for in a broker that you're a broker? And did you find the same thing in you, or do you look for something else in you and somebody else in the brokers?
Okay, so this is a fun one. There is a memo from Bear Stearns. I think I've mentioned this to you, right?
Oh, yes, I remember you saying that. Was it DSP?
Dated May 5th, 1981. I'll read this to you, and this is who I think I am, but it's just a couple of paragraphs. There's been a lot of publicity lately about firms hiring students with MBA degrees. I think it is important that we continue a policy that has helped us prosper while growing from 700 people 8 years ago to over 2,600 today. Our first desire is to promote from within. If somebody with an MBA degree applies for the job, we will certainly not hold it against them, but we are looking for people with PSD degrees. They built this firm, and there are plenty around because our competition seems to be restricting themselves to MBAs. If we are smart, we will end up with the future of Cy Lewis's, Gus Levy's, and Bunny Lasker's. These men made their mark with a high school degree and a PSD. And underneath it says PSD stands for poor, smart, and a deep desire to become rich.
Yeah, deep desire to become rich.
And
I think that is.
And I hire people off of grit, tenacity, and blind optimism, right?
Yes, that is so true. Mm-hmm. I am that. I see those things that you found out in me, and I see that in the success of every other broker I talk to too. They have a blind optimism, they are gritty, and they will find a way to make it happen.
I do not believe in stop signs. I believe in speed bumps. So.
That's good. That's good. I do have to admit, as a manager, you are very cliche that you have so many cliches.
You're welcome.
And I love that. Actually, you do have a story, an example, a quote. You are pretty knowledge based on that. And let me lean into that. If I was going to say 3 influential books or 3 influential authors or 3 influential people, you already kind of named one from that. But what would you, in that category, 3 people or 3 books or, 3?
Yeah, awesome question. So let me pull up my Audible so I don't mess anything up.
There you go.
Man, I Never Split the Difference is a massive one. Like everybody needs to listen to that book, right? Or read that book.
I study it myself. I study that book and apply it. It's great.
Yeah, it's a great one. I've been on a Ryan Serhant kick for the last few months. He was $1 million listing on Bravo, has his own show called Owning Manhattan. He's one of the largest real estate agents in Manhattan, 10 billion annually, which is insane. That's, sale volume, that's not commission, but insane, right? And really, really impressive. And he came from nothing as well, right? Just a normal family. But he's got a book called Sell Like Sirhan. And granted, it leans in towards real estate, but a lot of what he says transfers to what we do. And if you can master a couple of his things, like, you'll be golden at this. I also like Jocko Willinik's books.
Yeah.
Like Extreme Ownership and accountability stuff, right? And so, like, I read those. I've gone through all of them, and I need to go back through them again. I just think there's great lessons in that. And to me, even if you mess up, if you step up and you own it, it's fine, right? You can get through, you can fix it. And that does happen throughout deals. Like, you're going to miss something. You're a human. But if you step up and own it, like, it's going to be okay.
I have found that. I definitely see in my own life, there's sometimes I have a tendency to miss a number or a little bit of math here and there. And I've had people call out like, hey man, I was doing the math and I don't think that adds up. And I'll look and go, you're right, my bad, I made a mistake. And it's always okay. It's like, well, cool, you admitted it. All right, let's fix it.
Yeah, it's okay. And you're like, hey, listen, like, not my strongest piece. I'm sorry, right? Like,
yeah, I never get to anywhere.
And we're project managers mostly, right? So if we can keep everything on track, like, that's the best thing we can do. And then there's a book called A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle that a buddy sent to me, which is really about, like, understanding where and when ego needs to play into things and where and when ego needs to go to the side, and being able to master that. And so that's been really helpful. And one big takeaway from that was, I found through that vulnerability is a superpower. And so I'll use that now with sellers, buyers, myself throughout deals to be able to get people to navigate the way I need them to. And so that was a really good book. It might be a little spiritual for some, but there's really good lessons in it.
Yeah, I think that would be really good. That's excellent. Now, I would say this. What is your drive now? You've done something more than most people have. You got Rookie of the Year. You've made partners sooner than others. You run a complete territory, one of the largest states the largest state in America.
I would say this is one of the best countries in the world, the state of Texas.
State of Texas, I would agree. So you're the lead broker partner over the country of Texas, if you will, and all the salespeople beneath you. My question is, what's the vision, man? You are at the helm. Where are we going?
Well, I've got a big whiteboard over here. I got a big whiteboard over here, and I've got goals, personal goals written on there, and then goals for the office for this year. And I don't mind sharing them with you.
Yeah, please.
I've got 25 brokers. I think we're at 21 right now. I've got 200 listings. I look today, we're at 141. So I think we can get there by the end of the year.
Oh yeah.
4 million in revenue.
We're close to that, aren't we?
If we close out everything that's on the books, we'll break that this year, which will more than double what we did last year. And I have that I want 80% of our brokers to be in President's Club. So nice. That is this year. Next year, we're going to knock the lid off the top of that, because we are the only brokerage in the area that is doing things at the volume that we can and will. Everybody else is like a 4 or 5 person kind of mom and pop shop with not great systems and just not the reach. And so if we can start moving faster, doing small deals faster and big deals all peppered through there, like, shit, man, like I would love to do a deal a day out of Texas.
Nice.
It's
I think we're a deal a day as a firm. Is that correct? Right now as a firm?
We're a deal a working day. So scratch out the weekends. We'll do a deal a working day this year as a firm. I think we can do that in Texas. I think we can beat the historic numbers that Colorado put up because we have a bigger sandbox to play in.
We do. We have a huge one.
Yep.
I mean, what's amazing about Texas and why I love it so much is you do have the financial side of things up in Dallas. You know, you have the technology here in Austin. Houston obviously is your port, and with a lot of stuff going on there. And San Antonio is a booming metropolis. Everyone has moved there. To be honest, it's really quite widened, and I think that's something not to be forgotten about. A lot of businesses are coming out of San Antonio now. A lot of manufacturing is happening in San Antonio. Yeah. So I think Texas is a very strong government state, if you will.
Yeah.
But and everyone's moving here for business.
Yeah, because it's super business friendly, and I think it's like one of the ninth or the 11th largest single economy in the world.
Seven
now.
Seven.
We're beating out how many countries?
Yeah, France,
100+ countries just in the state.
Yes. We're quite amazing. I love living in Texas. But now the one thing also, and let's finish it off with this. Let's just finish off about the exciting thing about the industry that we're in is because as we've been hearing through every financial market, there is a transition of wealth happening. We're seeing it as brokers is we're getting people 65 to 85 saying, I'm time to sell and I don't have kids, or they don't want it, or the kids want it, or new kids want it. More people want it.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a huge need to sell. And there's also a lack of knowledge of that. We are business brokers making the whole process super easy.
Yeah.
How do we get all of that market share, and how do we get more people to know about us in this big time of our gold mine series, gold rush, if you will?
Yeah, education of what we do is always the uphill battle, right? And so there's the ground game, which is power partners, networking, events, public speaking, charity work, wherever you can get in front of large groups of people, right? Like that's the ground game. You can do one of the brokers, Carl here, he talks about switching from missiles to guns, right? You can switch it up and do postcards and direct mail and email campaigns and things like that to try to get a broader audience. But I think where we need to go, that we're young enough to do it, and a lot of our competition is not, is to really push into social media and take advantage of that. I mean, myself, I'm teeing up a whole campaign on for Instagram about not being your average business broker, right? Like I don't really fit the mold of a business broker, like full sleeve, tattooed, hip guy, look like I'm 26, even though I'm in my 40s, right? And I sit down with folks and they're like, you do what? Right. And so I think there's
well too. It's not just doing it, you do well.
But I think that there's an opportunity there that needs to be tapped into, right? So it's like not just Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I mean, my dad is in his 70s and he comes home and watches like random videos on YouTube. Why not take those commercials, right?
Yes.
He owns a business, an excavation company. So there's some of your audience.
Exactly. I agree. The social media is an untapped market. And that's one great thing I think about any market industry is that when you get into an industry and you find out, wow, most people don't even know that we exist. Oh, wow. And hey, all this younger generation is acquired wealth too. And they're going to want to start buying businesses. And all the old people want to start selling businesses. And social media is this little bridge in between both.
Correct.
Old and new wealth. And I think you're right about social media pushing that. They'll become more aware of us. It's the new television commercial, social media. You know, you used to put commercials on like, you know, the Super Bowl commercials were always the kind of the epidemic of, one commercial let the whole world know about it. But now you can have creative videos and get a market that doesn't watch football and watch them and get them involved. So I don't know. Social media seems to be, you're right. I think the next frontier.
Yeah, creativity can outweigh cost too, right? So we can get a bigger reach for much less expensive.
Exactly. Dustin, I want to thank you for taking the time today to be on the podcast, let us talk, get to know each other, and hear a little bit more about your vision and what set you apart and what sets brokers apart. I really appreciate you sharing your heart with us and your history and your background, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Happy to help. Anytime.
All right. Thank you so much. You have a good day. Well, hi, Julie. Thank you so much for being on the B2B, the Broker to Broker podcast. We're excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, I know you've been a broker for a while. Give us a little insight. What drew you to becoming a business broker?
Really good question. So originally, 2 or 3 years ago, I would have never known this career even existed.
Yeah.
So that's what was interesting about it is during the pandemic, I decided to buy a yoga studio to get back to my passion of, fitness and all of that. And I'd owned fitness facilities before. And I was on Biz Buy Sell, like most people do, searching for a business to buy. And I found one. And the one I found was represented by a business broker. And he's private, individual, not a big shop, but I called him up and said, what's the process here? How does this work? And that was my introduction to a business broker. And so as I was going through the process, I just asked him a lot of questions because I also, have a real estate background. And so I was really curious, like, are you licensed? Did you have to have training? How did you become a business broker?
Yeah, wow.
He was gracious enough to share with me, how he got into it and what was required and kind of what the career looked like. And so based on all that, I was like, that's really interesting. And so during the 2 years I owned the yoga studio, like a lot of people coming out of the pandemic, I was like, what do I want to do when I get out of this thing? I want to do something different. I've been in real estate for 20 years. I wanted to differentiate myself, set myself apart, and have a great career path, something that could grow with me over time and utilize my skills. So I looked into the what am I trying to say? The career as a whole. What did that look like? What was the earning potential? What big companies are out there that do this? What was it like being a one-man shop or a big company? I looked into it and I found out this is a legitimate career. This is a real career. There's a lot of earning potential and something I can do for many years to come. And I really felt like it would be a good fit with my skill set and my background and experience. So just looked into it. And then one day I'm on LinkedIn, looking at all the things and saw a job posting for Transworld Business Advisors in Dallas-Fort Worth Central. So I went out on a limb and applied and they interviewed me and the rest is history, as they say.
Yes, absolutely. So let me ask you, the gentleman who you talked to, the first broker, okay, what he said about the industry, was he correct? Did he give you good leading? Did you feel that this is, you're glad you went down this path?
I do. I feel like he did a really good job on that. He was very fair. One of the things he enjoyed was just helping connect, the right people, sellers and buyers. It's almost like professional matchmaking in a lot of ways. You're helping a seller meet a need, whatever reason he needs to exit the business and move on, and you're helping somebody else start their dream. And so he said he really enjoyed that part of it and connecting people on that level. And he was right. That's one of the things I enjoy about it as well.
Now, let me ask you this, it's fun to work with clients trying to sell their business, but sometimes as brokers, we come into difficult situations where maybe the business isn't making money or maybe it's in a hard area. There's always a challenge in every sale. Let me ask you this. What have you found as a business broker as a attribute that has made you successful when you have to go uphill against these obstacles? What do you find within you that helps you accomplish that?
I think it's my own personal experience from owning a business, because when I had my first two businesses back in 07, 08, they were Anytime Fitness franchise locations. And that was a lot of work opening those. And when I had to exit or sell them, it wasn't ideal. And I can identify with people going through that because a lot of times we do work with sellers who have to exit for various reasons. Sometimes it's a good reason, like, hey, I want to move closer to family and I'm in a great position. And sometimes it's, I just got a bad health diagnosis. I need to focus on my health, or they're just worn out. Whatever the case may be, I can empathize with that because I've been there. You know, when I had to exit mine, it was due to divorce. It wasn't something I had envisioned in my future. It wasn't something I was expecting. And so that came out of nowhere and I had to exit, and I know how hard it is. And so I really have a lot of sympathy for those who are going through the same thing. And it's my goal to be able to help them navigate that and help soften the blow and take on a lot of the load for them as much as I can.
Yes, people don't, unfortunately, not enough people know that there's business brokers, that we even exist, or the true value of having one. And I think the largest value is like what you hit on the head there, is it's a lot of work to sell a business. And with a broker, you have someone that's dedicated to that process of selling a business, which takes a huge burden off the seller or the buyer. It really,
absolutely,
more value. Once you use a broker, you never go back. There's no reason.
I agree. Yeah.
Unless you became one yourself. And that's the only way that I would say, because you learned and you're like, oh, now I want to carry this on and do it for other people. You know, that's very valuable. Now, talk to me about other brokers in our firm. The reason why my question is really focused around this is that every sales organization that I've been involved in, except this one, has been a very cutthroat, shark on shark, you know, dog eat dog kind of, no help, no support. What's been your experience working with other brokers in our firm?
Good question. Well, I will say this, you know, Transworld is a global name, obviously, and we're worldwide, but we're also a franchise system. So each office being independently owned and operated. When I interview with Transworld DFW Central, which is also Colorado, as we know, et cetera, Alan, Jessica Fialkovich, and Dustin, of course, and Linda being our partners here, I was made very aware of the culture when I was interviewing. They were very clear about that. And the culture was that we support one another. We do not, you know, backbite. We don't undermine each other. It is a very supportive, encouraging environment, because the philosophy being, you know, when one succeeds, we all succeed, and there's plenty of business for everybody. There's plenty. And I was basically told, you know, when you come on with us, you're going to get mentoring, you're going to get support, you're going to get all the help you could ever need at no cost to you. And all that's expected in return is that you do the same for the next round of brokers coming after you. And that really hit home with me. And after just a few months, I think I went back and told them, I said, you know what? You're always skeptical at first. Is it going to be what was advertised? It is what was advertised. It is our culture at this company. And so surrounded by brokers and leadership that are very supportive, it really is about the team as a whole and not being threatened by one another. What can we learn from one another? You know, how can we share our knowledge? How can we share our experience, good and bad, right? Because we can learn from all of that. And so I've been very pleased with that since I've come on board.
Good. Yeah, I would agree completely as a broker as well. Everything you're saying is exactly how I felt. But let me ask another question about working as a broker, as a former business owner. And as a broker, you're quite independent, but yet there's a team. How do you feel towards our partners? Because we really don't have bosses or managers. They're just considered partners. What is it like working with someone above you, per se, as a broker? Is it supportive? Is it helpful? What is that truly like, even in just managing as a past business owner now with somebody that's, has a value over all that we do?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's really important that if you're going to become a business broker and join a great firm like ours, you need to always be learning. You need to be humble enough to understand that you don't know everything, especially from day one. You even talk to our seasoned brokers that have been around for many years, and the best ones will tell you that they're always learning. There's always new things to learn, and we learn from experience. And so, being a business owner, but also just being an independent for many years, when I joined this company too, I didn't want to be, how do I put this? We're all independent contractors, right? Okay. Yes. That's who we are. We're not on payroll. Yeah. And so on one hand, that's very appealing. It can be stressful because you don't have anything coming in unless you earn it. But The other thing is, though, I didn't want to be so independent that I was on an island. I didn't want to be out there completely by myself, but I didn't want somebody micromanaging me either. Like, I wanted accountability and I wanted leadership, but I also wanted autonomy and freedom. And I feel like I've gotten that. So I tend to use all the resources that are available to me that the company provides, that other people are willing to share, because why reinvent the wheel, right? I mean, why do you? And so if I can learn from somebody else, that's really important. But at the same time, I can set my own schedule. You know, I can do things my way per se, you know, while still learning. And so I think that they do a really good job of balancing that out. If you have the drive and the commitment and the work ethic to succeed at this, they've got your back, right? They'll give you what you need to succeed. And if you just follow the process and, you know, accept wisdom and counsel from those that have gone before you, I think that you're going to do very well.
I would agree. Now let me sidestep to new business. How does Julie get business? How do you find your business listings? What's your process?
Yeah, good question. So, you know, when you come on, you can kind of choose your method, but it's very clear that you have to have a plan. And so you have to have a plan on how you're going to get business. And yeah, you can do things like drop letter, cold call. There's nothing wrong with any of that. I've done a little bit of all of that. But for me, my strategy is networking and relationship building, because I plan to be in this for the long haul. And even though I know some of that is going to take time to build and produce results, it's not going to come as quickly, for example, as doing the drop letters and I get a whole bunch of listings up front. It's going to take me longer to ramp up, but I'm willing to put in the time to do that, because I feel like that eventually that referral base that's there, that becoming the local expert, which is what I'm going for in my circles, is going to pay off. So I go to a minimum of 2 networking meetings a week. I try to have 2 to 5 coffees a week, if possible. I also do social events, you know, whatever I can. And that has kept me extremely busy. And so that's been my primary game plan since I came on. I'm very deliberate about it. It's not by accident, it's by design.
Well, let's talk about how you're deliberate in your coffee meetings. Tell me what a coffee meeting, who you're meeting with, what do you talk about? What's your strategy going in?
Yeah. So a lot of the times, you know, the good thing about being a part of networking group, and I'm a part of Master Networks, which is similar to BNI, but a little bit different. And I tried BNI too, but Master Networks was a good fit for me, is they encourage you to have face-to-faces with members on a regular basis. So I already have a built-in, hey, we're both members, let's get together, get to know one another. And they teach us to kind of how about the bond method and things like that. But I apply that to everyone. But I also try to meet with strategics, you know, CPAs, attorneys, people in the community that have influence or are connected. And so when I meet with them, number one, you have to take a little time to build a bond. You know, you don't want to just go right into, hey, you know, what do you do? And here's what I do. And, you know, kind of thing. You want to ask, you know, how long have you lived here? You know, do you have family? What are your hobbies? You want to try to build some common interest and keep it casual at first. In fact, one of the things they teach us in Master Networks is your entire first coffee should really not even be about business. It should be about each other and their relationship building, right? Because people have to know you and like you before they'll trust you and do business with you. And so you got to really work on that part of it, which I really make an effort to do. So it's the other person is not always on the same page. Sometimes they're ready to just get down to business, you know, start talking about it, but I try my best. So we'll make a little small talk, learn about one another. And then what I try to find out next is, you know, tell me about your ideal client. You know, how can I help you? I'm trying to learn so I know who to refer to you. And I'm genuine about that. So my goal is to be somebody that connects and somebody that gives to others, because I just believe if you do that often enough, it's going to come back to you.
I agree.
And so I don't go into it like, who can you send me? You know, here's, you know, who do you have you can send to me right away? I try to go into it with the opposite. Help me understand you and what you do. And I'm like putting my thinking cap on, like, who do I know that might be a good person for this person to meet? Right?
Yeah. Would you consider yourself, and I mean this, how should I ask this? Because the answer is yes, but do you see yourself as something else? My question is, do you see yourself as a salesperson? Or do you find yourself as a broker even more than that?
Oh, more than that by far, because I mean, even before in real estate, I sell. So I don't know why I get labeled as a salesperson, honestly, because what we do is we provide a service. So we provide a service. We build relationships so we can provide a service and, help somebody through a process. To me, it's not really selling. When I think of a salesperson, I think of, here's my list of listings for sale, and this is why you should buy one, da, 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 da. Yeah. And while we do get into that some, once we have somebody on board, they're like, what do you have? Then you have to bring it up, of course, right? You have to. But more than anything, I'm just providing a service, hey, you've got a business that needs to be sold. Why do you need to sell? How can I help? Or you want to buy a business? What are you looking for? And I try to meet their need more than just, here's my listing over here. Just look at mine and buy it. It's like you have to find that perfect match.
Agreed. Now let's talk about matches, okay? We, as brokers, get to represent the deal, which means sometimes we represent a buyer, sometimes we represent the seller, sometimes we represent both. Yeah. So my question is, talk to me about buyers. Just kind of lump them all together, good, bad, up, down, and tell me, like, when you meet a buyer, what's something that you first try to say, great, you're interested in buying a business, let's put a little box together and find what that is. Talk to me about that process with the buyer.
Yeah. So I'm always honing that skill, because you want to get to do where you can do that needs assessment better. Because sometimes, like in the beginning, maybe the questions I ask weren't as good as the questions I ask now, right? Because maybe I've learned over time how to hone that. And I think that what I really need to understand for a buyer is, what are they looking to accomplish by buying a business here? Are they buying a business purely as an investment vehicle? Are they buying a business to have something to hand down to their kids? Or are they buying a business so they can work in it and enhance their quality of life? Because interestingly enough, I've encountered all three of those. And they're completely different types of buyers, right? Yes. You have the person that's like, I literally have a buyer right now and I'm having the hardest time finding anything, bless his heart, because he wants something where he is interacting with people. He lost his wife a couple of years ago. He doesn't like what he does. He's like, Julie, I need relationships. He needs interaction. And so I'm trying to find him something that matches that, because he wants to work in the business day in and day out. Right? Know people, form relationships. Whereas then you get the other person over here that's like, hey, I don't want to work in the business at all. Right? I want a manager to work it for me, or I want the current manager to stay there. And I just want to kind of be over here orchestrating everything. Those are two totally different things.
Totally different type of buyers. Yes.
Exactly. And so that to me is like the very first thing I ask them before I even get into industry, interest, price range. I just want to know what their goal is in purchasing a business.
That makes sense. Now, let's ask about the seller. What type of seller do you run into, and what type of mentality? Because we run into, I think, every type of possible seller that there is, we run into that type of buyer. So tell me a little bit of what you experience and what you try to hone the seller in, which I always feel are the ones going off the rails, the sellers.
Yeah. I think that's probably even more interesting because I think people have ideas in their mind that aren't always reality, right? You could probably attest to this too. You have a lot of sellers and they feel like their business is worth either way more than it's actually worth because they did this, this, and this, right? So they think it's worth that. On the flip side, you have sellers that maybe don't think their business could sell at all. They're just thinking about shutting the doors and they're like, nobody's going to pay for this. And we're like, yeah, they might actually pay for it. So
that's true. They do. You'll find a buyer. Yeah, they're out there.
Yeah. Let me take a look at it at least and see. So I think, in this range that I'm in right now, as far as the price range and, the enterprise value, et cetera, we do get a lot of sellers that are selling for more personal reasons. I'm sure as they go up in price range, they're selling more to capitalize on their efforts and what they've built, right? And to get the profit out of that. But a lot of times they're selling for personal reasons, burnout, retirement, moving, health, whatever the case may be. And so that's one of the first things we ask them. Why are you selling? When do you want to sell and why? What's your motivation? That's all going to help me serve them a little better to come up with a strategy to get the business sold.
Excellent. Now, this is my last question, which I find is the most important one. Okay. And what that is if you were sent out to recruit a new broker with one attribute that you're trying to locate that you see in yourself and in the other brokers you work with, what would be an attribute that if someone wanted to become a broker, you would look for and go, I think you could make it just because of this?
Good questions. I'm trying to summarize it in one word or maybe two words, because there's two parts of it. Is the part that the attributes you have to be successful in the career as a whole, and then the attributes you have to serve your clients the best, right?
Ooh, good. I want to hear this. This is great.
And so the attributes you have to succeed in the career is you have to be tenacious and long suffering, because this is not necessarily a quick, easy fix. You know, this is something that you have to work at consistently and over the long haul. You know, it's not just a work, take a break, you know, or half, you know, whatever, half effort. No. This is something you have to, you know, you're shaking your head. Yeah. You got to be all in 100% and understand that this is going to take time. So you really have to have some grit. You have to be, you know, have some faith, honestly, you know, that your efforts are going to pay off. And then, you know, for that and servicing your clients, you got to be really resourceful. You have to be a problem solver. You know, you got to find ways to make the deals work in a way that serves both parties, you know, always doing what's best for them. But you got to be really creative, you know, and this is an area where I can continue to learn from other brokers. Like I'll talk to Dustin or another broker in the office, whatever, what about this, what about that? And they come up with this thing, this possible solution. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would have never thought of that, you know? And it's so good. And you're like, ooh, yeah. So, you know, file that away to the database, pull that, let me try that. And then that's something that you can use again and again. So, yeah, you have to be very resourceful and just kind of a never give up kind of mentality. You know, as you've heard some people in leadership say in our organization, you got to wrestle the deal to the ground. I mean, you just cannot give up. You can't be like, that's it. They're mad at each other. It's over, whatever. You know what I mean? No, you got to give them every opportunity. And that's what's different, I think, between, you know, real estate sales, which is very black and white by the process, and business brokerage is that there's more than one way to get to the end goal. There's a lot of creative ways to get there. And so just learning what some of those are and when to suggest them is a key skill.
I would agree with you completely on everything you said. All those characteristics are absolutely needed to be a successful broker. And I think that is what separates us from salespeople or consultants is we will get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
It's never dead until we say it's dead. We've all resurrected a deal, right? I thought that was dead. Like, oh, I got a buyer.
I know it. Yeah. I mean, you know, obviously we can't guarantee every outcome. Sometimes it's still not going to work, but you got to go into, you should feel at the end of the day that you've literally given it everything you've got.
Agreed. Julie, I can't thank you enough for being on the podcast. You're absolutely fantastic. What a great information. I learned so much. I know our viewers learned so much. As broker to broker, this is what we all need to grow and appreciate what we do. And I want to thank you for being on the podcast today.
You're welcome. It was fun. Anytime.
All right. Well, you have a great day. Go sell some more deals. We'll talk to you soon.
I will too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi, my name is Taylor Bombadiere. I'm a broker here in the Transworld DFW office. Wanted to hop on here real quick and talk with you guys about confidential business listings. How do we confidentially list a business to sell? Because let's face it, at the end of the day, you got to get eyes on it. You got to get people in there seeing your business, but we have to do it confidentially. The vast majority of business owners that are out there need to sell their business discreetly. We don't want employees to know. We don't want customers to know. We don't want vendors to know. No one can know about the sale of the business until it's completed and until the transition is happening, right? And so how do we as brokers or you as a seller go about listing your business in a confidential way in order to, one, attract people and get eyes on your business, but protect that confidentiality and the discretion that you know you need within your business? Well, As a business broker, we specialize in that. We specialize in growing interest and finding buyers while ensuring that the business is marketed in a confidential way. A couple of the ways that we're going to do that is by starting with a one-page ad that we have. So if you go on a website like BizBuySell or our website, Transworld Business Advisors, you're going to see all the different businesses that we have listed for sale. Now you're going to see the one-page headline that we have, as well as the body paragraph that we have about that business that explains a little bit about what the business is, explains a little bit about what it does. Here's a little bit of information for you on the cash flow that it has, the revenue that it produces, and a very, very brief information on the business in general. And that's just meant to get people's light bulbs going, get people excited about it, and get people inquiring on the business. Once they inquire on that business, we're going to have a non-disclosure agreement signed by every single buyer that's out there. So at the end of the day, whether you're in private equity or whether you're a mom and pop or a husband and wife or whoever you might be, we're going to need a non-disclosure agreement from you. It's one of the main ways that we ensure that these businesses are being marketed in a confidential way. And before anyone sees any of the information or packages that we put together on these businesses, they're going to be signing an NDA for us and making sure that we have that in our back pocket. Once we get that NDA signed, we're going to, release the information to someone and send them over that package that we have. But that's not it. We're following up with them in a phone call conversation and making sure that they're a real person and that they have, one, the financing to purchase the business, the experience needed to purchase the business, and they're an overall good fit for these owners that we're working with and marketing their businesses for. Because at the end of the day, time is one of the huge things that we're protecting and providing value to in these sellers. And so hopping on these phone calls and making sure that it's a good, qualified buyer lead is super, super important when we're getting these confidential businesses listed and getting traction on them and getting people inquiring. So that's something that we're always going to do for every single one of them. Once we have all those put together and the buyer has the executive summary or SIM, they're going to be showing interest in this business. Only then and only at that point are we going to be introducing them to the seller, getting a lot of their really more detailed questions about the financials, the marketing, the operations of the business answered. And so those are the steps that we're taking for a seller in order to make sure that these businesses are listed in a confidential way, but also that we're getting a ton of eyes and a ton of traction on these different businesses that are out there. Like I mentioned in the beginning, selling a business is a number game. The more people and the more eyes that we have on these businesses, the more, bigger chances you have of selling the business for as much money as you possibly can. And at the end of the day, that's everyone's goal. Let's sell this business quickly, but let's sell it to the right person for as much money as we possibly can. And so the processes that we have in place here at Transworld and just as brokers in general are created and tailored specifically in order to make sure that this is a confidential listing, that this information is gone out to people in a way that they get interest, their light bulb goes off, they inquire on the business, and then we're qualifying them to make sure that they're the right fit before releasing any information to them as a buyer. So, at some point, we're going to have to tell a buyer what the business is, where it's located, how much money it makes, what the financials are. But by taking every single step that I just mentioned here and making sure that we're following a process that we have put in place for a reason, we're going to be able to eliminate a lot of those tire kickers that are out there, or just people that are very, very serious about buying a business, but this one might not be the right fit for them, or, they're going to be able to disqualify themselves and move on to the people that are very serious and actually going to be interested in these businesses. A lot of the times when we're listed businesses, we get hundreds and hundreds of inquiries from people in a very, very short amount of time. And so having these processes in place and having a step-by-step list and checklist that we need to cross off before releasing the executive summary or the SIM is very, very necessary. And then taking more steps to make sure that we're, protecting the time of our sellers is what we do in order to make sure that these businesses are listed and at the end of the day, getting sold at a high rate. So once again, Taylor Bombadiere here with the Transworld DFW office. Happy to answer any questions that you have. Feel free to reach out directly to me. My email is taylorb@tworld.com. Thanks.
Hey, Jessica, you know what time it is?
Money time?
Almost. It's time for listing of the week.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Cheung, and I am with Transworld Business Advisors of North San Gabriel Valley, Beach Cities, and Torrance in Los Angeles County. The listing that I'm excited to share today is an underground utility contractor in Los Angeles County with already $2.1 million in contract for 2025. Founded in 2012, the company provides water, sewer, storm, and gas pipeline installation for federal, state, cities, and municipal customers throughout Southern California. SDE last year was around 570,000 and is projected to be 650,000 this year. Listing price is 2.4 million. The Class A general engineering contractor license is required. The license can be qualified by the owner or a responsible managing employee who the seller already identified. Seller is motivated to sell to move to another state. It's a great business with strong revenue and SDE growth and is priced to sell. If you are interested, please call my cell at 626-864-3369 or email me at jcheung@tworld.com. Thank you for your time.
Hey, Andy, do you know what time it is? It's time for our deal of the week.
Deal of the week.
Sold.
I am Jennifer Fox, president of Transworld Business Advisors of Boston, and I am here with Brook Hartnett, one of our top brokers in the Boston office, and he recently just sold a French bakery in Massachusetts. So, Brook, why don't you tell us a little bit about that deal and the history of the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a fantastic 30-plus-year-old French bakery in South Shore, Massachusetts. The owners ran the business beautifully over the years and really built it up from nothing. So, they've gotten to the point now where they're, getting close to retirement age, and they, came to us looking to sell. The business itself has a fantastic team in place that, was a really great, opportunity for buyers to come into an already established, business in a beautiful local community.
Yeah. And why don't you tell us a little bit about how you found that buyer, particularly, because it's a really interesting story.
Yeah. So after, we always talk to a lot of buyers on a lot of the deals that we do, and it's really about making sure it's a good fit for everybody. So, with this buyer in particularly, after learning a little bit more about what he was looking for, we actually found out that he was, a couple blocks away from the bakery in the town that it was in. So, he'd been to the bakery in the past, and it was really kind of a staple of their summer life and something they did right before they went to the beach. So it was really a match made in heaven.
Yeah, because what was really interesting, I thought, was he almost bought another business, but it wound up not being a good fit, and it fell through. And then we wound up bringing him on to this when we really found out his location, and it was perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it almost, I think say everything happens for a reason, and we unfortunately that stuff happens sometimes, but I mean, it's why we have such great relationships with the buyers and really try to learn a little bit about them and what they're looking for throughout the process. So this was really a fantastic fit.
Yeah, and then the buyer was going through SBA financing, and you did a great job with managing that process with the lenders and the attorneys to keep everything moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, during the process, once we're actually in the deal and doing due diligence and coordinating with the buyer and the seller's attorney and, the lender the buyer is using and, helping the sellers organize the due diligence items. The sellers have, their personal life in their business. The buyer has his personal life in his business. So, we helped everybody make sure this was, on time and moving at a good pace for everybody to get everyone to where they want it to be.
Yeah, and to have a successful closing. So this was a amazing deal, and Brook actually got this business from a referral from selling another bakery. So if you want to reach out to Brook, how can someone contact you?
Yeah, the best way to contact me is really phone call, email, text. My phone number is 631-965-9073. And my email is bhartnett, HARTNETT @tworld.com.
Great. Another good deal for good people at Transworld Boston.
Thanks for tuning into the show today. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends on social media. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcasting app. If you have questions, would like to appear, or have suggestions for topics for the show, get in contact with us through our website, thedealboardpodcast.com.